it to the professionals.
Last by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
40.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits, yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeChain, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below, then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We would greatly appreciate it. It warms up the algo and lets everyone know we're here. We've got Spaces, the Spaces audio, we've got the X video, as well as Abstract and YouTube live this morning. Shout out to the best GMers who dropped those GMs in all those chats. We've got Von Frunten, Machiavelli, Hizzy, and crew RDL over in the YouTube streets. We've got Von Frunten and Bordo Saka on the X video feed. And Abstract feed absolutely electric this morning. It's mine too, Green Edge. Monday is my favorite day of the week as well. I get a little sad on Saturdays and Sundays. I miss my Coffee with Captain family, and my weekends are, I got a teenage daughter, so she's doing fun stuff with her friends, and my weekends are pretty, actually this weekend wasn't, this weekend was a lot of golf, more than normal, and
you golfed?
No, watched golf, but I think I actually spoke to someone who was watching the Masters, and I think I'm going to get back out on the course for the first time since I moved to Florida, if you can believe that or not. I have not. I went out to the range maybe once or twice since I've been down here, and just have not. I'm a very competitive person, and golf is something I enjoy it if I'm playing consistently. I don't enjoy being bad at something. So to pick up a golf club once every 5 years is more frustrating than it is relaxing. But think I might hit the links here at some point in the near future, and looking forward to that. But good run of the Masters. We'll get to it here in the cold open a little bit maybe. But as always, I'm Cap Jim and my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice in the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky. Meme coins exceptionally risky and go to zero to a moment's notice, especially those Ponzi's like big. Although it did bounce, it looks like after after the frantic sell-off, as well as we'll talk about another major RWA token that had a 90% down candle in matter of minutes this weekend. $6 billion-ish extracted or I guess erased from the total value. And be safe out there. As always, we're not financial advisors, or certainly not your financial advisors. Please don't take any financial advice from us. Rather, just join us for some fun, some information, and some education along the way, like how important it is to get your taxes filed today, tomorrow, or at least filed extension. Avoid those penalties, kids. And use code COFFEE with awaken.tax when you're doing so. Last day, I did pin up the carousel for this week. It's up top. If you've not yet smashed those reminders, I would greatly appreciate that. Now go give that one some love. The like, the repost, the bookmark, the comments in that carousel are always appreciated. With that out of the way, Steve, GM, sir, how was your weekend?
GM, it was okay. I mean, Masters was good. By the way, GM to everybody, we are heavy on the GM this morning. Von Frunten hitting all three chats. Mesh out there. Thomas, Feed Me Parmo, Teacher Katie, Green Edge, Machiavelli across multiple chat. Boris, Rare Ed, good to see you out there as well. And everybody in the X chat as well. Obviously, YouTube's we were showing on the screen with a lot of those same people. Von Frunten, Machiavelli, Bordeaux, Saka, Hizzy in the house. RDL, Dunk Cookie, always coming in hot. We appreciate that. And then, of course, going to the actual X chat, which, again, like, retweet, and comment on the room as we go. Ark Invest out there. Rich coming in. Go ahead.
Sorry, you know the chat is popping off when we've attracted the abstract bots before we even get out of the cold open.
Yeah, victory royale for you to get that going. GM General Wags out there as well. We got lots of friends in the X chat giving us those likes, those retweets, those comments. Joey Vels, screenwriter Dave, Don Diablo, all of our good friends out there. Micro, I got to get the Micro. Send me a DM with an email so I can get you on for tomorrow's stream to draw a Beezy Claw. Already got that one, and potentially the next week for our person who's going to do Swap or Not live. Kazi, appreciate you. Saucier, Brick It All, Das Scrub, Typical Tigers, all of our friends out there. Lots of people this morning in the chat, nice and lively. But give us a like, a retweet, and comment to the room so everyone can find it. As we say, we don't really sell things to you. At least have not really as of yet. But the way you can thank us is by like, retweet, and comment to the room, subscribing to the newsletter, subscribing to the podcast. If you haven't done that on all of your favorite podcast platforms, just do us a favor, give us that sub on there on a whether it's Spotify, Apple. Look for Coffee with Captain. You'll see the logo. If you're doing your taxes, signing up with Awaken with code COFFEE helps us. Those sorts of things, letting our sponsors know that you recognize them and like them. All of those little things help us. Like we said, we actually don't sell things. We actually give away things. In fact, tomorrow we will have another fun giveaway. Gave away some money on behalf of ENS, giving away we have potentially, hopefully, if we sign a deal today, some opportunity to give away even more things over the next 6 months. More to come on that. But no, it was an okay weekend. I mean, Masters was good. Had some good times with the family, but I also paid taxes, and I don't know. Taxes are sort of like the final boss for all the money I have to spend at the beginning of the year. Like, I can't buy anything, I can't do anything until I've got that covered, but paid my federal income tax, my state tax, all the extra stuff, all the stuff for my kids on their brokerage accounts we have. And the last big bill I will have until at least the middle of the year, when I have to pay more property taxes, will be the last bill I have will be my actual accountant bill for spinning all this up together. They spin up this nice thing to make it do it. So I got my pre-taxes for Q1 paid. So not great. Still have to do an extension, though, because they have to actually file it in, and I got stuff to them a little last minute. So it's like I pay the taxes, still get the extension, but I don't know. Are you getting you have 24 hours? Are you getting your taxes extended? How are you doing that action?
I don't know yet. 50-50. I've got everything mostly done. I just, I don't know. We'll see. I normally am an extendor, but I may actually shove it in this year.
Yeah,
might be on the 15th. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, good luck blunt force trimming your taxes forward. No, no, Mesh. It's rough, man. Being an entrepreneur sucks because comparatively to when I was at companies, people would say, you want your taxes to be tax return to be as close to zero as possible when you work at a company. They say, like, don't lend the government money for free. Not I. I actually would let the government take more than enough money out of my paycheck so that I would get a tax return every single year. Because it would just be like, hey, every year, a few $1,000s because it's tax return time. Being a entrepreneur, it's the opposite. It's I have to save extra money knowing that, 30, 40% of everything that I make is going to go straight back to the government because you don't get that money taken out, obviously, when you get it sent your own way. I pay estimated taxes. Those did not help this year because we had some good sponsorships going into late last year. So, it's an interesting one to get all the taxes paid, and I have to pay property taxes on my house, which is always a kick in the pants. Yeah, I know. I've had this conversation.
Actually, true story. I think I shared it in the war room. Maybe not. I think I did over the weekend. Like the bubble is bursting in Florida, or it's at the precipice of like the amount of listings in Florida under purchase price. Like it is, we are teetering on really affordable housing in Florida, while simultaneously there's DeSantis attempting to get a bill pushed through which would eliminate property tax on primary residence. So potentially good time to be. I think it's still a little early is where I feel. But I think before the end of the year, there could be very, very good, if not great, buying opportunities in the great Sunshine State.
Yeah. Shout out to Bordo Saka. Always loving the excitement to get going here on Coffee with Captain. Yeah, I mean, look, like this is the first year that Dawn and I have really said we're over this shit. Like the weather, it held on longer than normal. We had, or I think, a record like 5 pump fakes of it's going to get warm. Just kidding. It's snowing again, which I think happened at a lot of different places. But it's a challenge because my kids have an established group of friends, a great school district. Like they're really happy. And so like, I'm probably here at least another 8 years till my son's out of the house and my mom's here. So I don't even know if I'll leave then. It just depends. But, first year, I'm kind of over it with this shit in the Midwest weather. It is just not fun to get hammered. It is starting to warm up. I think we are finally turning around in the next couple of weeks, which is good because I want to be outside more often. But yeah, I've seriously considered whether a move should be in the cards, but it would have to. I don't know. My kids are established. I don't want to put them in a spot where it's like it shakes up their world in a very formative and important time, sort of that middle school, high school phase time frame. The time to move probably would have been already.
Very valid. I completely understand. I went through the almost identical thought process and did not move when my oldest was entering high school. Ended up moving when my youngest was in middle school. And in hindsight, I think both kids would tell you they would have loved it if we moved sooner. We went through the same thing. Hey, we don't want to uproot our kids. We don't want to move. And it's ultimately why we didn't move. But yeah, I'll ask her. I'm pretty certain our oldest would have said, yeah, we should have moved down here pre-high school.
Yeah, that would have been if I had the opportunity, I think it would have been that. It would have been like, man, if I could, it would be a move sooner, younger, when my kids were like littler. But again, it's hard because the whole reason was around my parents. So it's like I can't go back and relitigate it, but it's like shit. Like if I could, I'd be somewhere that is not here right now just based on that. And like, it's because I'm not trying to move to somewhere where I have a lot less room and a lot less property. I'm just trying to move somewhere where it's a little bit warmer year round because I think that I've paid my dues. I've more than paid my dues. I've never lived in a place where there isn't snow, so would be nice to have that. But a couple of hands up. We'll get the hands in, then we'll get into some of the news because I know there's a lot to cover this morning. But last thing I'll say again before we have it on the screen here. If you have not done your crypto taxes, if you have not done your taxes, go to awaken.tax. We'll do the daily market update here a little later, but like awaken.tax with code coffee gets you $50 off. It's a free $50 to do your taxes, which you need to do. You don't want to not do your crypto taxes. If there is anything the government's going to be able to track in the future, it's going to be your crypto taxes.
Actually, relevant, newsworthy on the topic, and then we can move on. I see we got a bunch of hands here. I'm hoping we didn't invoke all these hands talking taxes, but they can let you take it around. They can take it wherever they'd like. But I just saw, let me see if I can go find the post. I think I saw it from Tyler did it. a CryptoPunk whale is facing 5-6 years in prison. Did you see this?
No.
Oh, yep, it is 6 years. Yep. Not to incite fear, but just to drive home that you're not kidding. This is a kind of an important thing to take care of. CryptoPunk's whale Wilcox could face up to 6 years in federal prison after unreporting in 21-22 income by 13 million. Man pleads guilty to submitting false tax returns tied to 13 million in CryptoPunk sales. Waylon Wilcox sold millions of punks, but told the IRS he hadn't touched digital assets. Now he's facing prison time. This was, I don't know where this came from. Do you know where he clipped this from? Where the actual article is? I'll see if I can find the source article, but
looks like NFT now or Decrypt. I can't tell though, based on the font.
I'll track it down. I'll link it up top. But yeah, there's the at least the screenshot of if you're a U.S. citizen, it's if you don't have to pay your taxes, but it won't be the end of that story. Sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with it. So your choice: pay now or pay later. Depends on what pain you prefer: the expensive pain or the other pain that involves being put in a cage.
Yeah, it's just again. We'll go to Funky here in a second, but like that's why we're saying like, and we're not just doing it to like shill our referral link. To us, it's like, look, again, awaken.tax, code coffee to get $50 off. I did my crypto taxes this year. It was, again, it's not fun. It's not fun if you do well or if you have a couple flips or whatever. It's, that money needs to go back on those cap gains. Some of it turns into ordinary income on airdrops. Again, doing my best, working with an accountant to get everything done. You don't want to misreport or underreport that stuff. I've gotten bad advice before. It's like, it's going to give you the fact that people like Tebow, who are like, frequent traders, are telling you that it is the best software they've used. Like, if you haven't done it, don't fade it. Trust me. Last thing I'll say on it, just to give one more thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again when we get to Awaken the Tax, but I tell this story as like a horror story. I got bad advice on how to do my crypto taxes, and then I ended up with a 5-figure tax bill a year after doing them incorrectly. And then on top of that, I have to pay another really expensive bill to the tax attorneys who helped me figure everything out. I just got bad advice, tried to do it myself based on the advice that I knew how and thought that was, the right way to do it. It wasn't, and ended up getting absolutely killed on it back in like 2022, maybe 2023. So I'm telling you, don't be like me. Get it done. I wasn't even trying to avoid them. I was thinking I was doing them correctly and I did them incorrectly. So there wasn't really good software in like 2022 for me to use to integrate into. And so I had to use a professional. Now you actually have good software. So get on there, awaken.tax, code coffee. If you haven't already, it's going to help you get everything done.
If you need to file an extension, Saucier dropped the actual link to the official extension form. I'll pin that up top in a second, and it was Decrypt, so I'll drop that link up top too, Steve.
Awesome. Let's go Funky Flex Tag, and then we'll bring Kevin here in a second. Funky GM.
GM guys, hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm in the car on my Bluetooth, but this is actually kind of counterintuitive because Cap, you were talking about debating whether or not to file an extension. I just learned recently that, believe it or not, if you file an extension, you're less likely to be audited than if you file at the deadline. I don't know why that's the case. I always thought that the longer you waited, that you'd be more prone to have fewer people submitting with the extension. So apparently that's not the case. And also, I don't know what you guys use, but I just finally, because I have a single member LLC that I run my side gig through, and I file as an S Corp, and that has saved me a ton on taxes. I expected a pretty massive tax bill this year, and turned out this Formations is the name of the company that does the work for me. I ended up getting a $572 refund. So I was sitting on a bunch of cash. You guys might have heard me. I'm on a market. I bought a bunch of Bitcoin over the weekend because I was freed of having to pay a major tax bill. So that's maybe something that's worth looking into for anybody who's in the audience. If you're really, if you run a single member LLC or any kind of LLC, Formations, they do all the taxes for you. These guys are wizards because you do still have to give them tax stuff like Awaken. They just can't do crypto taxes per se, but you can upload those files from Awaken into their interface, and then they take it with the rest of the documents and they just work their magic and end up getting a refund. But I was shocked about the extension that you're actually less likely to be audited.
That's fascinating. No, I use a local accountant. I had a friend of a friend who was like a partner at a local accounting firm. So I basically went to them my second year, really being like into, as I was getting ready to go full time into Web3, and asked them to help me with it. And they basically looked at it and they said, "Brother, your taxes are a mess, and we need to get started on that right now." And I, similar to you, I upload all this stuff. Actually, what's great about it is, you can give them like joint access to some of your crypto software and things like that. So I was able to do that where they can just download the files directly themselves. And I try to survive from the pain of the crypto taxes and make it work. But yeah, no, there are different ways to get around that. I'm always having those conversations with my accountant about like what I should or shouldn't do as a solopreneur. And all the different things that go along with that are certainly important discussions to have with those people, because your own situation is obviously going to vary person to person. So make sure you know how to do and what you're doing, and how to properly file, because you don't want to get caught with this stuff. It can get you pretty good. Let's go to FlexTag, the FlexTag account, GM.
Yo, GM, Felix here. Yeah, how's it going, guys? Yeah, serious topics here. I actually have to do that as well at some point. Especially now with having this company here. Things are getting a bit more complicated. But yeah, speaking of, I mean, conference season is around the corner, basically. Is any one of you guys going to Dubai?
I am not. No.
No? Okay, it's my first time. So I literally don't know. Like, I know of 2 people who are going, and that's it. So it doesn't seem like many folks are going, right? Like, I don't know. It's a bit funny.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, I think it's sort of one of those in this economy comments where it's like, look, like I would love to go to Dubai. I've never been to Dubai, but as far as like, Cap and I are working on some stuff for the show. We're working on ApeCon, which we're trying to close down. I think I saw BCheck and Legendary were heading to Dubai potentially. At least BCheck, I think, was. And it's hard, man. It's for me, it's like balancing which IRL I'm going to go to. Like, there's a couple IRLs that I was lining up for that I'm actually not positive I'm even going to be able to go to, because it's a family events and a couple other things. So, it's hard. You balance it, but it's like, it's not cheap, especially in a down market. Like, I find I will say this, Cap, I do feel like we get a lot of value in a down market when we go to some of these IRL events, because I think a lot of people are a little bit more accessible. It's not as crazy. Like, I think that, like, I have had a couple of times in bear markets where I've had really fruitful conversations with people because the builders continue to go. To me, it's just a matter of deciding like where I want to spend time and money. Is it NFT NYC? Is it Art Basel? Is it, Consensus? Is it, Dubai? Like, where do you want to go? And especially for me personally, Dubai is just such a trek, and it's not only an expense from a time perspective where I'm at in life with a 10 and a 13-year-old. It's like, I'm going to be spending like basically a week between travel and conference time. And that just, that's kind of brutal. So I try to limit those. So I don't know your thoughts on conferences you're looking at this year, but I think Dubai's obviously out. Any ones you're looking at, like, I mean, Consensus, NFT NYC, probably we'll talk a little bit more about as time goes.
Yeah, I mean, wait, I joined me or Cap?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, yeah, the expense part is real. Like, holy crap, it's like a lot of money that just goes out, right? But yeah, I have to look into these things, because that's what the whole business is about, like being on the ground, making the connections, and then also seeing how the customers like the tags, right? So I'm going to be in Dubai. I'm going to be at Bitcoin Las Vegas and NFC Lisbon, and then probably some more at the end of the year. Still not sure how to finance all that. I'll figure it out. Also, yeah, like, would love to jump on a call at some point. Like, I still have to figure out the funding part, but eventually it would be cool to be, maybe set up some kind of collaboration here with you guys.
Yeah, we can definitely talk offline about it and figure that out. But yeah, I think, for you, it makes sense. It's your whole business. You got to be IRL. FlexTag is, giving people that opportunity to, take their online identity forward and kind of give them a credentialed a credentialed NFT sort of showing their digital identity and bringing it forward. So yeah, it makes sense that you would attend all those things. And for us, it's all the same. Where it's like for us to stream, it's actually much easier to do so from the home base. So it's it's definitely a conundrum we run into a little bit ourselves, trying to figure out where to go and what to do. But we shall continue to ride there. That said, before we get into some of the different news of the day, because I have some thoughts on a lot of news of the day, a lot of things to cover. One of the things I had on my list was actually Kevin. Kevin is here, so I think we can actually hand it to him, because I was going to say anticipated mint coming up today, Final Bossu. We had pre-minted already. We've had Kevin on the show. We looked at the trailer, and the trailer came out, looked really, really awesome. A lot of high effort work that went into that. Kevin, I don't know if that's what you came to talk about. I'll let you get in here with anything you want, but I know that is happening today. So feel free to hit on that or anything else you want to hit on.
Yeah, good morning, guys. As usual, my favorite show. Just want to say hi. It's a big day for us at Final Bossu. So just, the team is working hard on all the stuff. And so it's my obligation to go out there and talk to people. So just want to come on and say hi. Did you like the trailer, guys? How was that?
I did. I'm curious, like, what is a day like this? The trailer was good. You feel free to pin that to the top if you want as well. What does I always am curious. You're sitting there, you're with the team, you're coming into a big day. What does the day look like for you and the team as far as like, is it nervous? Is it exciting? Is it, is there, like, you've kind of done everything you can do at this point, so you're off to the races. What is it like for the team coming into a day like today?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of all the emotions there. It's definitely nervous. It's exciting. We've been working on it for such a long time that it's like this build up. It was kind of interesting because even the other day we posted the trailer and I felt depressed, right? And I was to my team like, why do I feel this feeling, right? And I had to kind of reflect on it. And I think it really came from you're building up so long to a certain point that once you pass it, it's like, I don't know. Like, I can't explain the feeling that I had. It was like I was so proud of the work and everything. It took me really some time to process. And so I guess it's just the build up towards everything. And today's the same. Like, I'm super pumped, excited, bit of healthy nerves, I would say. But just everybody's prepping. There's some bunch of last minute stuff over the last 2 weeks that we're like, okay, how can we make this thing even better, right? And how can we improve like the after mint experience? So I know that Steve, from top of my head, you posted about like that after video. And so the other day I was like, man, we need to step up our game. We need something better than last time. And so I hit up our dev team and I was like, guys, I don't know how you pull this off, but we need something right after mint and it needs to look like this and that. And so they just finished it up and I'm like, great, we're just in time. For the rest, all good. Smooth sailing from here on forward, hopefully. And just excited, hanging out with the people in the community a bit for now.
Yeah, it's awesome. By the way, that depressed feeling you had after the trailer went out is, I think, incredibly relatable. I had this conversation with someone recently. I want to say I had this conversation with like Dobbins or someone recently on the timeline where, like, if you spend a lot of time working on something you're super proud of, like that trailer, which came out really, really well. It's like, you spend a lot of time working on something, then it's out. It's like you have the mint, which is good, and you have a lot to look forward to and a lot to build, but it's almost like you have this now what situation. And I've run into this as well. Like, I spent a year and a half with a book on coming out with a book. The book comes out, ends up being well received by the NFT community, which made us really, really happy. And then we kind of looked at each other, or at least I looked at it, and I was like, okay, so now what? Like, now what's next? You spend so long working on this thing that you're super proud of. It's sort of this driven purpose. For me, fortunately, I have something like Coffee with Captain where it's like we're constantly incrementally trying to improve, trying to get better. We added the newsletter, we added streaming, we added new graphics, we added new videos. So we have this continuous improvement here, which allows me to kind of have that professional sort of stimulation as far as knowing like what I'm working on. But it is hard when you work on something for a very long period of time and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, it's out in the wild. Now what? So it's very relatable feeling, I think, for a lot of people who have ever built or done anything, certainly, and can understand where you're coming from as it relates to that. But good luck today. We'll be keeping an eye on it for sure. I'm sure we'll be talking about it tomorrow one way or the other, and excited to see where you net out. It's always nervous, but you spent a lot of time building up to it. And I always say, like, look, market's the market. Things are going to happen. All you can do is say you've done your best leading up until like leading up into the book launch. We did everything possible for it to potentially be successful. And then once it's out there, it's like, now we wait and see what happens. So have to see how it goes down. But Cap, I know we're at about 8:30. Again, like, retweet, and comment on the room as we get this thing going. We just mentioned Final Boss Movement. That was on my list. So glad Kevin came up and joined us today to give a little bit of a little context on that. Cap, I'll hand it to you to kick off your tick list with anything you want to go with.
You caught me with the curveball there. I had some items, but I did not write them down. So I mentioned the ohm. I don't know what you call it. It seems like founders extractive. Maybe there was something. Maybe it was an exploit. I'm not really sure, but I'll grab another good thread on that one. Taxmen rather. The X copy, a big sale there this morning. X copy remains on fire. Good day for Taxmen to be popping off. Yeah, I'm gonna I take it wherever you'd like, because I did not. I don't have a good list this morning.
Yeah, okay, so like let's start with that one, because I have a couple things I want to hit on, which are are NFTs back? And I'm not saying this in the terms of like, I think this is probably the terms that you were talking about this morning in the war room. So we had a CryptoPunk sell for, I believe, 65 ETH this weekend, a Bored Ape sell for 45 or 46 ETH this weekend. We had an X copy sell for 255 ETH this weekend. Taproot Wizards are actually almost back to mint price, which is an insane run that they've been running into. ZooPepin dropped this weekend, which I don't even understand the Jack Booker ecosystem at all. It's one I've completely minted, but everybody on my timeline seems super stoked about ZooPepin.
Who is the artist for this one?
I have no clue.
Usually I'm aware of who these.
I can jump in here, sorry to interrupt, but if you want some explanation, I can give it to you.
Yeah, who is the artist for this Opepin one?
So this was actually done by a couple of community members of the Opepin community. It was a collaborative effort, and I think it was a perfect and lovely display of, of what the Opepin community essentially is. It's, like we all come around this vision that Jack had initially, and we used the constraints to build something that is beyond that what everyone could have imagined in the first place, and just in terms of visual outputs in that case, right? So it was a collaborative effort, took like months and months to finish, and it's been super well received. I'm very, very happy to see it. I myself actually didn't get one, but I mean,
how did you get one? How did one secure a ZooPepin? I saw a lot of people tweeting about it. A lot of the usual suspects who are like actual collectors, which I appreciate. The Bored Elons, the Hollanders of the world, the people who actually collect stuff were like really excited about it. How does one? Because Hollander was a great example. Hollander, like, basically he has an Opepin that he got specifically because it matched his ape at the time, which he now has gotten back. Bored Elon talking about it. So I saw a lot of collectors, Farouk, some of the people who really like to own this stuff, holding it. How did they get it? Like, how does one secure a ZooPepin besides secondary?
Yeah, actually, I should switch back to my personal account, rocking the SnowPepin, which was a collaboration with Snowthrow. But essentially, it's like initially back in the days when they minted, you minted these they're called blanks, right? It's like you've probably seen it, black background, the white lines of the Opepin figure, basically, and these are kind of like raffle tickets if you think about it. So there's like about 16,000 of those, and whenever a new set is released, the community can decide if they want to make that part of the permanent collection, and so they can opt in to that set with their edition size, because there's different sizes, right? There's the 1 of 1, and there's edition of 4, 5, 10, 20, and 40. And the prices are obviously very different, right? I think the 1 of 1 goes for, 10 ETH right now or so. The ZooPepin one is listed for 50 ETH, which is insane. But the demand is there. So if I owned a 40 edition blank Opepin, I can opt into the 40 edition of that, or I could have of that Zoop Happen one. And then if I'm lucky, if the demand is very high, which was in that case very high, it's probably was kind of unlikely to actually get it revealed to a Zoop Happen. But yeah, like there are sets out there that didn't have that massive demand, so it was kind of safe that you got yours revealed, right? So does it make sense? That's the mechanic behind it. It's like kind of like a consensus protocol in a way.
It's just interesting to me. And Cap, I kind of want to get your take on, I know you're like, neither of us are super deep in the Jack Butcher ecosystem. It's so interesting to me because usually really complicated mechanics like that, or relatively complicated mechanics, don't do as well because it is really thoughtful. It's high effort. It is something that I think people aren't as into. People just have latched onto this and I guess there's like money to be made there. And so there's that aspect of it. But a lot of these people are collectors. I guess I'm surprised to a degree that this, the amount of like interest in something like this when it's got a really complicated mechanic.
You're asking me? I don't know if it's overly complicated. I like the mechanic. I think I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more take and run with this. I actually think I'd be interested to go back. I don't think Crypto Painter's out there this morning. Usually it tunes in, even from the West Coast, but I think his Drunk Santa might have predated the OPEP Bird. I don't even remember, but just the idea of a larger unrevealed collection and then these smaller, opt-in collections to where, if you're not guaranteed to get one, but it's got to subscribe, it's got to reach the subscriber threshold to actually go to mint. I like the mechanics. I think it's cool. It's just, I don't know. I'm not trying to poo-poo any of the Jack Butcher fans. He just lost me when I feel went overboard with Open. Like, had he stopped with OPEPin, I'm probably into it. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me personally. It's not something I want to collect. And I think that's kind of back to the title of the show, or NFTs back. I think that's what's getting back, Steve, is not speculative flipping and trading, but actually collectors wanting to collect things they want to collect again. So the conversation earlier in the war room, your ape is not a floor ape. You can't buy a spinner hat on the floor. In fact, I don't know when the last time you could have bought a spinner hat on the floor was, because collectors are collecting again. There's like 3 of them listed right now. It's like everyone acknowledges this with punks, right? I don't think there's a single person out there that says the floor price on punks is the price of a punk. Like, if you want a punk that you actually want to, whether it's your rock as your PFP or you want your forever punk, you're not getting that thing anywhere close to the floor. Like, there's forget rare ones. There's no aesthetically pleasing ones on the floor. Most of the ones on the floor are junk. And those are often just the ones that people use to flip and trade. They're the ones that people speculate on. Those exist in most collections. They exist in the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection, but most of the traits that people like collecting, they're just not available. There's 3 spinner hats total on the market right now. If you want to get one, you're going to have to make offers on Steve's or others, or you're going to have to go pay 3 ETH over floor price for one, 3.5 ETH over floor price for one. We're seeing this more and more. It's not across every collection, but with the leading collections, the majority, meaning over 50% of the sales, are not floor sales. If you look at punks, you look at apes, we'll just talk about those 2. I think doodles might even be cracking into it, as I saw several rare doodle sales, although I just don't know about, maybe there is more trader volume. But if you look at most of these leading collections, it wasn't this way. Blur incentive bid farming really killed the collector mentality and caught a lot of people that were collecting aesthetically pleasing ones or mid rares or traits that they really liked. It crushed those individuals in terms of devaluing bringing non-floors down to the floor. What I'm saying is we're not in that market anymore. It's just not. Like, go try to buy something of a desired collection and buy one that you actually like and resonate with on the floor. And I think you'd be really hard pressed to do that.
Yeah, I guess I run into this. This is my because I'll show the Zoop happens on the screen for people to see them, because like people liked them because they thought they were cute, and it is a clever, I think, execution of this particular like sort of OPEPin look to it. Like, they're very cute in how they've done them. I like the little iguana guy who's got the tongue out, and the unicorn is a pretty cool one. I actually am partial to the eagle myself when I see it, but it's, it's interesting because you see these and you think to yourself, okay, it's kind of cool, and I like that, but you see that what they're selling for and think to yourself, okay, like, again, very interesting to see those going and people looking for an individual zoo Pepin they care about. And to your point about it, I guess like it's maybe to your point, my brain has been completely warped by blur farming because I've always thought like, look, when I first got my
this isn't directed at you. It's I think how you're feeling is how a lot of people who were around during the blur farming era are still viewing their assets. They're still viewing NFTs, that floor price is a leading metric, and it's just not. It is for like a final boss movements today. Yeah, floor price is going to be a real metric that people, they went in, that's the price they're going to pay. But if it hits and people are still talking about final boss a year from now, I'm pretty certain that if you want a decent looking one or one that you vibe with, you're just not going to be able to get it off the floor. There's just, these collection sizes are, relatively speaking, are very, very small. I know 10,000 seems like a lot, but it doesn't take that many collectors to make it really hard to separate actual desirable assets from the floor. I don't know what the metric is. Maybe it's average sale price. I wish this was talked about more. I wish people would chart on it more, because all collections aren't equal. And in some, the floor is the floor. OPEPin, the unrevealed OPEPin, the floor is the price of the collection. You want an unrevealed OPEPin? Go get one. They're all the same. Not the case with most PFPs, not the case with fine art. And it's exciting to see that coming back, the collector mentality coming back. And I think the space is a lot healthier when you have people collecting things they actually want to collect, not something they're looking to buy for a short-term flip.
Yeah, I guess that's what I run into a little bit is like, to Cap's point about the mentality, because like he's talking about like collectors collecting. We mentioned it in the opening. X copy selling for 255 ETH, Bored Ape Sushi Chef selling for 46 ETH, the CryptoPunk cowboy hat selling for 65 ETH. And we've seen, we obviously saw the Alien Punk sell at, we talked about the massive loss, but it's still sold for, what was it, like 4,000 ETH or whatever the insane number is, right? So I think like there is still that, there's still that sort of collector mentality that I'm seeing existing here. And I'm trying to get myself back into that brain space, because the point you made is very salient, where it's
without looking, what do you think if you want a floor space ape right now, what do you think the floor is? What do you think you could buy the lowest one listed on the market today for?
I mean, because
current floor price is 14.69.
Because you said that way, I'll say like 19.
25. It's 10 ETH above the floor price. And maybe you could make offers and get someone to accept one, but you're not getting one at the floor. Like, it's not a floor. You got your ape is not I'll go look. I don't think you could buy a spinner hat on the floor in the last 90 days. I don't think one is sold for that.
Yeah, and like I guess like the blurification of NFTs is something that we talk about a little bit here, which is, yeah, like I look at it like I initially bought my ape above floor, which was like I bought it for 0.3 when the floor was like 0.25. And actually, the person who sold it to me at a loss. They bought it for 0.33, and they were dumping because the apes were dumping at the time. And so they bought it for 0.33, sold it to me for 0.3. And when I got it, it's like I got it because I'm like, this is something I kind of jive with. This is something that I like. And when we were looking at like the sales of it, and the sale prices of apes, like I would always be like, yeah, it's not a floor ape. The floor that's for googly eyes. That's for the the eyes that are outside of, the floating eyes that we see. Like that's what the floor is of apes. But then Blur came along and every ape became a floor ape. It was like, did you have a gold? Did you have a trippy? It's floor. And then even those became closer to floor, where some of them would get flipped around and some of the more rare and really aesthetically pleasing looking ones. But like now, I guess maybe we're heading back in that direction, because I've been getting above floor offers and I'm like, wait a minute, like this is throwing me off, because in my mind, I'm like, it's a floor ape. But to your point, like maybe based on where they're listed, it is not a floor ape. And, a spinner hat is a desirable trade for certain people, I guess. I don't know. It's a different world out there, I suppose, right now. where people are shopping for actual things that they want. And I don't know, if I were saying that a metric for this, it would be super interesting to see what percentage above floor each general trait sold for, generally speaking. Meaning, like, how, like, does Spinner Hat sell on average 10% above floor? Does Space, in general, sell 40% above floor? Like, what is the average sale comparatively to floor is, I think, the thing that I would like as a metric. Like, that would be an interesting one to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. You wouldn't have to go back that far to find a Spinner Hat selling at the floor, but there's just my greater point is you either A, you're gonna have to be patient if there's one you really want, or you're gonna have to pay up for the one you really want. It's just there's the, and this is maybe, Steve, maybe this is a listing thing. There's 306 listed total across all marketplaces right now. Out of 10,000, 306 are listed. Yeah, you can make offers, but it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm way off. I just don't think many people that haven't exited yet, they haven't sold their ape or their punk or their pudgy or their doodle. I don't know. I don't think they're taking a WETH offer below floor at this point. It'll happen from time to time, but I think there's far less people who are going to WETH out of an asset they've held for a few years than those who are going to hold and demand a premium for the asset that they've held for a few years.
Yeah, I'd like to see, like, us get back to a place where, like, for example, somebody decides they like the Spinner Hat trait. Like, I used to do this back in the day. If I liked the sunglasses trait, I'd throw in a bunch of WETH offers for sunglasses traits. Like, I'd like to get back to the world where that is what's happening, where people are actually throwing WETH offers at things they like.
Shout out to Buchin in the abstract chat. It says, huge collection trend with GVC, Good Vibes Club. It's amazing to see the constant hunt out for traits with badges. Rarehead said, spot on. Market is really collector centric right now. It's coming back. And I think it's not just punks and apes. It's newer collections as well, like Good Vibes Clubs. And we're still seeing that month after mint. I don't remember when it minted. We're still people collect things they desire the trait. They want to collect it for the badge. Like, as far as NFTs are concerned, as far as price action of NFTs are concerned, I feel it's a collector's market is far better than a trader, especially an incentivized bidders market. I'll say that. Maybe trading market is fine, but the incentivized bidding market was bad. It really was not a good thing for the space at large. And maybe it's not full circle to the collecting ages of 2021, 2022, but it's certainly far more of a collector's market now than it was during the peak of incentivized blur farming.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. And I think we're heading back into that, which is exciting to see that happening. That said, we hit a little Jack Butcher, so I'm going to do a more you know on our buddy Jack Butcher.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
It's time for the more you know, brought to you by our friends over at ENS. And we mentioned that Zoopepin came out over the weekend from the Opepin set. But Jack Butcher, let's learn a little bit about him. Jack Butcher, one of the most influential NFT artists in Web3, not just for visuals, but for ideas. A former ad exec turned founder of Visualize Value. Jack's minimalist black and white style made waves with checks, an $8 open edition that turned into a meta commentary on verification, value, and decentralization. It exploded to a 1 ETH floor at its peak and has done over 26,000 ETH in volume. Massive. He followed that with the Opepin edition, a gamified experiment in rarity and participation. Holders vote on which sets are revealed, blurring the lines between creator and collector. That collection alone has done over 12,000 ETH in volume. What makes Jack stand out isn't just the art, it's his thoughtfulness. He's built a brand around transparency, community, and building in public. In a space full of noise, Jack Butcher is proof that Signal can still win. And that was the more you know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than you know, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. It's your identity. Simple, memorable, and unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to learn more and secure your ENS domain. And Cap, speaking of art, I'm going to go to Felix here in a second. I'll let you get back in here, Felix. But then Rear Ed brings up something that we can actually have a conversation about as well, which is the Minted movie. But Felix, go ahead and get back in here. Or maybe we lost Felix.
Yeah, it looks like we lost my speaker. He's reconnected now.
See if we can get Felix back up here. But if not, we can move on to the Minted movie. But Felix,
I mean, now we kind of moved past it, but I just wanted to circle back, just like for maybe understanding purposes. I mean, Jack would be able to frame it much better, and probably some other community members as well. But I mean, the idea here is that like this is not just the average NFT project, right? It's like the underlying concept is to build a consensus mechanism that doesn't need a leader at all. We only need the code to work for the next 100 years or something like that, right? Like if you want to go a little bit over the top here, but that's the idea. Like Jalil is working very hard, I think alone even, like on constantly improving, consensus mechanisms and threshold limits, and like, because it's like a constant experiment. Like sometimes, there were times when there was like a really nice set and a couple of people would have loved for it to be revealed, but then because of the way the consensus mechanism was set up, the demand wasn't met, although the demand was actually like very high organically, but like technically it just wouldn't meet. So like, there's like constant readjustment. So that's kind of like the philosophy behind OPEPN right now. It's like we're trying to build this, community-driven consensus mechanism. If you think about it, kind of like maybe we could compare it to something like a DAO, but it's really not a DAO, obviously. So it's something I would say it's pretty unique in this space. And obviously, everyone is just waiting for people to drop a set, for example, which inevitably will happen, I'm sure. Like this is going to go on for so long, and yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating to see how there is no financial incentive for the community really to take part in this. I mean, obviously it is an aspect, but just the intrinsic motivation for everyone to keep going and to keep working on sets and like, being part of this is, I haven't seen it anywhere else in the space yet. And it's something really special. So if you add all this context, it kind of, yeah, it's more of a well-rounded picture you get from the OPEPN, yeah. Because if you just look at the blank OPEPN, for example, well, you're lacking a lot of context there, and it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't really translate to what actually is behind all of that.
No, it's definitely cool, and it's like one of those things where it's like anybody that builds complexity, high effort community, I think that's good, and people clearly have a sense of identity around it. It's just a thing I never got into, but it's cool to see people who are definitely getting into it. And Cap, speaking of collectors, did you have a chance to see the Minted movie this weekend?
I didn't. It was on my list, but Masters won out. So yeah, I did not check out Minted yet.
Yeah, I watched it Friday. I'm not going to go through my whole piece here, but I'll give you the TLDR. People missed the Minted movie, just to give the update on kind of the quick review on it. It basically was a movie that didn't do a lot to advance NFTs technology. In fact, it reinforced them as speculative JPEGs in a lot of ways. They did a great job talking about like provenance, where NFTs started. They showed some people who were artists who were ultimately able to, get their, Justin Aversano, with Twin Flames and some of the really cool ones. They basically made PFPs look like they really reinforced the PFP, bro. They had a guy who was in a line who basically showed a picture. He's like, this mutant ape. I tell people, oh, you're driving a Camry? This is worth $100,000. So what's up, girl? Can I buy you a drink? Like they showed someone literally saying that's their like opening line at a club. They had Gino the Ghost, who I actually think did a pretty good job, like being very honest. He's like 99% of this shit goes to zero, but like certain people like them. But they kind of positioned PFPs. And even at the end, Justin Aversano said something I strongly disagree with. He's like, yeah, sure, take away royalties from them, but don't take away royalties from artists, which I'm like, you're saying take away royalties from the PFP businesses, but not the artists because that's their livelihood. Well, it also helps the PFP businesses. So they sort of position PFPs as being not like the deep scammy way that other people do. It was more they brushed them off and focused so hard on the art. I do think they went a little long on some of the storytelling around the artists a little bit, which got a little like to the point where like I like hit fast forward a couple times where I'm like, okay, like this story's getting really, really long in the tooth.
Wow. I don't know if I can't remember last time I fast forwarded a show.
Yeah. Like
check out, I'll multitask, but I can't remember or fall asleep. I just can't remember last time I actually said I'm skipping this portion.
I think the average person.
Is it a normal thing to do that a lot or it just,
no,
so it's really bad.
No, like, you know, when like a podcast might be talking about something, maybe you're like, okay, I'm kind of ready to move on. So here's the thing. Like, I think a normal person who's into art or a normal person seeing this movie is not going to do what I did because you're getting the deep storytelling. It's just they went with like 3 or 4 specific artists. And at one point, like a couple of the stories, I'm like, this is getting really long. And like they spent more time on some of the individualized artists than they did on like Beeple at the beginning, which like set the whole thing off. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. You're telling the story of an artist. This is awesome. But it was meant to be more. It's weird because it's almost less about NFT. It's definitely not about NFTs as technology. It's basically about NFTs as provenance, art, and artists being able to help themselves. And then they hit on PFPs. They clown them a little bit. They kind of hit on them a little bit, but they don't really get deep on the PFP piece. And then they kind of end it with like, hey, like art's important and they shouldn't take away royalties. And it's really important to have art be really good. And like, you know, the importance of decentralization and all these things. And that was good, but like, yeah, there was a couple times I just hit like the quick 30-second forward because I'm like, all right, this story's getting really long. And like, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to be impatient, but like, it wasn't like it was almost like it was a story about artists and how they can climb out of things with NFTs. They covered a little bit about the blockchain and once it's gone, it's gone. But it was just, I don't know. I'll be curious to get your take on it. They didn't like absolutely dunk on PFPs, but they didn't make them look very good. And I just think it was like
help me understand who was behind it and what was their motive? Like, why do you think they made this movie and why'd they do it now? Or is it something like they attempted to get it out in 2022 and it just
based on the prices that they had on the screen, like when Gino was like scrolling PFPs, it was like Moonbirds at like 17 ETH plus. So like whenever they made it, it was like so long ago that we were
17 ETH on the way up or the way down.
Right. I don't know. And I don't know the answer to that. I just know that it was like, you know, I think on the way down, to be honest, based on what he was saying. And, you know, like, you know, the prices of like, you know, doodles and those. And so like when he was showing the prices were an indicator that this was they filmed this a long time ago. Right. But I don't know that I think their goal was NFTs because they included the footage from Beeple when he was like making the sale of the $69 million. So it's like that old. That I don't think the filmmakers filmed that. I'm guessing that was just used film from Beeple and his family themselves. Maybe they did, but you know, they followed Justin Aversano from his you know, his whole journey of twin flames. So you know, and him going to Christie's, which was pretty cool. So it was old as far as some of the footage went. But I think their motivation was like they were getting in early on it. I get the impression that like it was just somebody who was looking at it like I get the impression they were art fans. They wanted to talk about art. And then they were like, hey, they basically like they kind of positioned it, if you read between the lines, as this thing came out that was really cool for art and artists, that it kind of got co-opted by people with these weird PFP things that didn't make sense. And then art still wins and art should be, you know, the focus of this thing. But again, to me, it's like, spend 10 minutes explaining that, yes, there's art, yes, there's PFPs, but there's a lot more here. I get it. Not everyone's going to be interested in the tech. That doesn't sell a whole movie, but it was like, you know, Rearad said the movie was finished in 2023, not sure when the filming started. It felt like they basically wanted to say like art's this and, you know, that's what, but anybody who watches that, if a friend or family member see that on Netflix, they're going to be like, oh, so NFTs are JPEGs on Ethereum, which it's so much wider than that. That's like, you know, someone being like, yeah, so websites are just, your car insurance website where you quote car insurance. Like, no, it's more than that. It's like, yeah, but that's what websites are. Like, I don't know. Like, it would just be saying that there's single use for any multi-general purpose technology, and I think that's the problem. So anyway, that was kind of the minted movie in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think so. TLDR still worth checking out. You think still worth?
I want to get your opinion on it. I mean, I think as a member of the community, it's worth seeing, but I don't know. I was disappointed. Like, I was like, hey, they did a good job storytelling, cool with art, that they succeeded there. But like, I don't know. Like, it's not doing us any favors. Like, I don't think. Like, I think most people watching that are going to think NFTs are a way to put art online.
And who do you think watches it other than people that are still here?
I don't know. It depends on how well it does on Netflix. Like, I'm sure people I'm sure people who don't like NFTs are going to watch it and be like, this proves my point, right? They're going to be like, this doesn't tell me I can't right click save. It doesn't do anything for art. There were definitely a couple art snobs in it who were like, that's not art, who were like on there, but I think they were sort of, so I don't know. It's just, I don't know. If people outside of our space watch it, it's not doing us any favors. Like, if this is used as reference material, it's not ideal.
It's fair. Did you see this crash, this Luna 2.0?
I was going to ask, I 1000% missed this. I saw a lot of people talking about it. I missed the crash over the weekend because I just wasn't in those streets and it was new to me. And so I am completely on the outs on that one.
So I pinned up top please don't forward it. Seth, I'm not sure what you're referring to in the comments. It says, please don't forward it. Tags me. It was a reminder of why the space grew so quickly and why we all believed it had a promising future. It wasn't a negative take on the industry. If anything, it was say the downfall wasn't the snake eating its own tail. It was the wars in the economy. Maybe don't fade it was what he was meaning to say there.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to, which comment is it in? Is it in the X comments?
Yeah, just the space comments. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
DW just says saw a lot of people liking it on the timeline. I'll watch it. I just, it's I guess disappointing that I don't know. I'm assuming there's like it is what it is. Like, it probably couldn't have came out earlier. Maybe it has a bigger impact if it comes out during the mania. Maybe not. Maybe it's worse if it comes out then. I really don't know. But I guess good-ish to see them getting some attention in quasi-mainstream. But back to this let me start platinum post up top. I'll put it up on the screen here for those tuning in. So the TLDR, and I guess, Steve, to give us a little pat on the back, proud of us for completely ignoring this one, being on the sideline. I saw a lot of people saying this looked shady from the jump and a lot of red flags. Here this thread says, over 6 billion extracted in 30 minutes. Not necessarily all that extracted, but that's the total value that crumbled as it crashed from about $7 down to 55 cents in one candle. It all started with a wallet linked to Mantra that sent 3.9 million ohm to OKX. That cut attention fast because the team controls 90% of the supply, meaning they can crash this price at any time. And the trust was already broken. A month ago, Mantra did an airdrop, but right before launch, they blacklisted over 50% of wallets, called them bots, gave no proof, and the community felt betrayed. Following that, more shady stuff continued to appear. Market makers allegedly keeping the price high. Quiet change tokenomics. Airdrops kept getting delayed. Founder inactive for 24 hours, and then when the OM deposit hit OKX, panic started. People feared a dump, and they were right. Selling pressure kicked in fast, and it was just massive sell-off from zero. Like I said, from 7 down to 50 cents. Over 5.5 billion in value evaporated, and again, in a matter of minutes, they deleted the Telegram. So it appears that, again, some of the stuff, like if your intuition's telling you, hey, something seems off here, dig a little deeper. If you find more red flags, usually red flags are there for a reason. 90% of supply being held by the team is never a good thing. they change tokenomics, they change airdrops, like all this stuff is like not good. And somehow this was the number one RWA, number one token in the RWA world. I'm not even exactly sure what their story or what their pitch was, but it appears it was, smoke and mirrors and a big Ponzi. But just a good reminder, never put any money in that you can't afford to lose. All this stuff is extremely volatile, especially if a team holds 90% of the supply. This is a potential outcome. Doesn't matter how great their plans are. It takes one rogue actor on that team to do this, and then good luck recovering from something like this. So I hope none of our audience, I hope no one got, no one innocent got impacted by this, but it's always not good to see something crash like this, instant crash, but good time to serve as a reminder to, don't ever extend yourself. And even sometimes if there seems like a good team, seems like a good plan, they're really building something here, that doesn't necessarily always guarantee that they're going to be successful in executing. And sometimes they may have malicious intentions. Muted.
I did see a funny take on this where somebody had posted it from when this token actually launched. And, because obviously it launched before it went up, and they said it still outperformed ETH in the last year, and they had ETH down and this up a very small tick or whatever. But nah, man, it's again, to me, this is the stuff to be cautious of when we say the idea of self-custody and do your own research and all of those things. This is kind of what we're talking about here, right? I mean, this is where you want to be cautious and you want to be smart and you want to be thoughtful. We've had this conversation many, many times. It's where we talk about red flags on this show. We talk about orange flags. We talk about green flags when we're looking at tokens, when we're looking at teams, when we're looking at founders. And this is one of those ones where it was completely off my radar. But what I heard, the team allocation and, I'm okay, well, this seems like something that you want to be very skeptical of. But I'm also not a person constantly playing in the token streets. I'm kind of conservative with my, what I hold from that strategy. I don't have time to be paying attention to potential big runners unless I really know what they are, what they're going to be and where they're coming and what they're doing. So it's I don't know, I have a good idea on a lot of these tokens, but on something like this, I'm I just wasn't connected to it. When I hear those stats, I would never, that team supply, I never would have bought, right? When I look at distributions, we talk about tokenomic distributions all the time. We look at, Doodles giving 68% of the community and told them they missed by 1% or whatever. It's those things matter, and we pay pretty close attention to those. And we will, judge where a team allocation should be, where those lockups should be, all those different pieces we talk. So a 90% team allocation just sounds sketchy. It's I don't know. It's when you see a lot with the deployer of a pump fund token, it's just how much you really want to play with. So anyway, that's just
Pump Fund and Netflix. I think Pump Fund, or at least a knockoff Pump Fund, was featured in Black Mirror. I've not seen this either, but I saw on the timeline that Black Mirror is going the Pump Fund route.
Yeah, I need to actually get down on Black Mirror again. I like Black Mirror, so I need to dive in and see if I can watch that one and see what the Pump Fund people said. Did you catch Pump Fun in it? But it sounds like it was not exactly Pump Fun, but it's the it'll be interesting to see how they position that. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. The way crypto gets positioned in general, and I get Seth in the chat saying oh no, it was a positive take on artists. I get that. But if I show that film in a vacuum to someone, I still think someone says, right-click save, cool for artists, NFTs are art. That's it. And I guess that's my disappointment, is that you have something that is going to be an underlying base layer to the internet for ownership for the next forever, as long as we have the blockchain and as long as we exist. And it's seeing it positioned in that way is great for artists, but yeah, PFPs. This guy used his mutant ape to pick up girls at the club and buy him drinks. Awesome. Oh, PFPs went up and then they crashed. Oh, 99% of this shit's going to go to zero, so be really careful. True, all true. It's just, there are the aspects of it not showing sort of, I'm not asking them to do a PFP documentary, but if you're going to spend, a half hour telling the story of an artist one way or another that's going to get out of, like, great. I think that's awesome. 5 minutes on the tech and like 2 minutes on the community might be, because at one point they talked about like an artist who established a community around her art. Great. Like, why is that not high? Like for like a very quick hit where she said, like, it's not just about like what we've grown as far as money, it's as far as growing community. Great. Why not hit on that with the PFP aspect as well? So I thought there was just a couple of like very small missed opportunities to like give more context than they did. And that part of it, I think, was tough for me.
I like Rare Ed's. He grabbed a quote from Rotten Tomatoes. It says, the film makes you root for the hardworking artist who benefited from NFTs while also recognizing that some just exploited the monetary side.
And that latter part was basically what they said PFPs were.
Interesting.
Which, yeah, and so that's where it's like some exploited for the monetary side. That's the PFPs, and then the person who got hacked and lost a bunch of money. Like they showed the guy, one of the hacks we've covered on this show. I'm trying to remember which one it was, where like someone lost like millions of dollars worth of apes. Someone who lost $500,000. A non-dox person who lost a bunch of PFPs and apes and things and clicked on the wrong thing when trying to. The person, I forget what it was. They were trying to claim a goblin town, and they went to the wrong. They went to the wrong site where like the I was an L, and then they lost like everything. And like they talked about that. So that's my, like, I'll be curious your take. Like I said, I'm not trying to be too harsh. If you look at the review I did, I wasn't like knocking it. I thought they did a really great job with storytelling on the artist. I thought they did a really good job talking about the history. I thought they did a really good job with a lot of those things. It's just, and I knew a lot of the artists, like they had Young and Sick in there, and they had, you know, a couple other people in there that I Justin Aversano. They have a lot of people that I recognized. But they like at one point, Gino the Ghost is like, there's really two sides of the NFT world. There's the Justin Aversanos and the art side, and then there's a PFP side. It's like, well, no, there's a lot more than that, right? And he at the time they interviewed him, they were asking him specifically about this part of it. So I'm not knocking Gino as much as like how it was positioned. So it's, you know, again, like worth watching if you're in the space. Curious, I'll be curious to get your take on it, Cap. It's about an hour movie, so you should watch it in like hour and a half, and give a review. And like, again, before, like, don't just react to how I'm saying it here. Like, read the review that I wrote. Tell me if you agree. You know, I'll be curious your take on it. But it wasn't like they absolutely murdered PFPs. It's just they kind of like undertoned, like, hey, this is here too. It's not that great. Go for art. And then it was like, I'd say if the movie was, let's say the movie was an hour just for argument's sake, I'd say it was like 53 minutes on art, which is great. But like, that's not going to tell a good story.
Well, I guess kind of related, keeping it all together with NFTs and maybe a use case where they're more than just art. I did see some timeline activity this weekend. A lot of happening over in the TikTok streets. A luxury items being questioned, and I think bringing up even more of a use case for NFTs. But before we get into that, maybe good time to get a quick daily market update in, Steve.
I think it would be a great time to get a quick daily market update in to see where the market's at.
It's market update time. Let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean. Got your back. Grab your coffee. Let's break it down. Daily update right now.
It's time for the daily update. Daily market update powered by Awaken, the best way to handle your crypto taxes with integrations across top exchanges and blockchains, plus AI-powered transaction labeling. Awaken makes tax season easy. From NFTs to DeFi to meme coins, Awaken has you covered. Get $50 off with code COFFEE at awaken.tax. That's $50 off when you use code COFFEE at awaken.tax. And Cap, I know you're going to get into it. I said it before at the top of the show. I'll say it again. If you have not done your taxes, there is a story right now with somebody who is facing prison time because they did not pay their taxes on CryptoPunks. It's a lot of money, but you don't want to be in that situation. The blockchain is forever. You want to make sure you're doing it right. Awaken makes it easy. Again, traders like Tebow, Riggs has said the same thing. Like, hey, great software. Maddie Wife was working on it recently and said that she was helping being able to get through it, to get those documents for her accountant. You want to pay your taxes. I said it at the top of the show. I didn't do it right my first year. I wasn't trying to duck them, but I didn't do them right. I tried my best. I ended up with a 5-figure tax bill the next year. followed by a large tax bill to pay my accountant for cleaning up my mess. So don't be like me, because that's Awaken didn't exist in 2021, 2022. Now it does. Check out Awaken. Again, awaken.tax, code coffee for $50 off. Cap.
Yeah, and we actually have a new visual tier today, Mintify, with a nice little sleek update over the weekend. They now have our tokens on site as well. You can see this little drop down here. I've got it showing the Coinbase 50 index, but you can look at AI agents, you can look at top movers, particular ecosystems, a lot of options for sorting your fungible tokens. But looking at the Coinbase 50, which is essentially our majors, Bitcoin up 0.85% on the day, 85,000. ETH leading the charge, which this usually doesn't end well for ETH, but at the moment, they're leading the charge, up 4.53% on the day to 1674. XRP basically flat, down almost 1% to $2.16. Solana up 3.5% to 134.15. Doge up 1% to 16.5 cents. Cardano up 0.34% to 65 cents. Avalanche up to $20, a 3% gain. Chainlink up to 13, a 2% lift. Stellar down slightly, and Shiba is basically flat. But those are your majors, your Coinbase 50, your top index. Good day, green day in the crypto streets. NFTs, not a bad day, but pretty much flat across the board. We'll see. Bored Apes holding 14.69 ETH. That's down 0.33% on the day. Little Pudgies up 5%. The big winner on the day, up to 1.31 ETH. Big Pudgies flat though, 9.775. Doodles down 4% on the day to 2.8. Mutants flat at 2.468. Opepin, as we talked about earlier, up slightly. They ran up quite a bit more than this, pulled back. Still up on the day to 0.2384. Miladies down 1%, 3.04. Still no idea what Morph Black is. I did not do the research yet. Down 14% to 0.86 ETH. Memeland Captains had a nice run. Looked like a sweep or two happened there. Up 7% on the day to 0.73 ETH. And the Steady Teddies over on Bera, down 4%, but still holding 159 Bera over on ApeChain. That's our daily market update brought to you by Awaken Tax. Head over to awaken.tax. Use code coffee for $50 off. Get your taxes filed or get your extension filed. That link is also pinned up top. Steve, back to you.
Yeah, you mentioned like ETH outpacing on the way up. It's like ETH outpacing on the way up is basically the same as crypto has decoupled from the market for that one day, and then all of a sudden it has not. I think that ETH, it's always nice to see it bump. Do you think at some point, like, people are constantly wrong around here. Do you think at some point that ETH is going to actually buck the trend and just outpace? I know we kind of say like, look, we don't think so, and I know, but like, I just wonder, are we at the point where, like, at some point here, is ETH going to actually make a play that is going to make us all surprised? Or I don't know that the narrative is there. And like, I feel like sentiment is so bad, but we're constantly wrong on this stuff.
I don't know, man. I'm at this point, I'm afraid to capitulate. There's just too much activity. It's not going to go away. I don't know. Vitalik put out something about privacy over the weekend. I'm not, I guess, like, I'm fine. I'm not selling. I have no interest in buying more ETH, and we're just going to ride this thing out. I just think now is not its moment, and maybe it never has another moment. Maybe it just bleeds out, or maybe it does actually have a moment at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be. I don't know what its catalyst is going to be. I still think it's going to be Larry Fink and crew going out and beating the drum about, the L2 they're spinning up and how valuable ETH is as a global supercomputer. We never got that media tour, and I don't know. Maybe it never happens. It's kind of shocking to me they didn't do near the media tour for the ETH ETF as they did the Bitcoin one.
Yeah, it is interesting that they haven't, and now we have all these other ETFs that people are talking about. And yeah, I look at it like, to me, it's like I have some ETH on Coinbase staked, earning like 2.5% or something like that, which is, I know people might laugh, that's not a lot, but it's something that it's earning back as it goes. And if it ever shoots back up, that's great. But I feel like NFTs are collateral damage here to some degree, because they're like this leveraged bet on ETH. A lot of people say, well, like the easy example where we talked about, I bought my CryptoPunk for however much. It is up like 10 ETH, but in USD wise, it's down. And I think like, NFTs being denominated in ETH is that like a systemic risk, do you think, for NFTs? Because like, at some point, like, I suppose they could just go up in ETH prices, USD goes down and people peg in that demand. But like, it does feel like there's some level of risk that people are buying, NFTs for 10 more ETH and losing. And for me, as from a tax perspective, it's like I end up with more ETH and I get a tax loss harvest. Great. But I don't know, man. I'm almost like there's something I'm going to sell probably in the next couple of days that I'm going to sell for almost identical to what I bought it. And I'm going to get a tax loss harvest, but I'm going to have the same amount of ETH. So if the ETH goes back up, I win there. But like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's a risk there.
Yeah, I've seen a few takes floating around recently on the timeline too, that I think even Luca came out and said he's moving the rest of his ETH into NFTs, that, no chance ETH outperforms leading NFTs. I used to think that, and I thought these were a great levered bet long-term on ETH. It just didn't play out that way. Maybe it just hasn't had time to play out that way, but I'm just, I don't think, and I also think that they're more and more starting to price them in USDC. I think that's what we're seeing with punks and some of this fine art. I just think that, I don't know. Like, let's just play it out. Hypothetically speaking, ETH goes to double digits, goes to like $10, $8 ETH. Are like, what happens to like CryptoPunks? Do they bleed out with it, or does the floor just become several hundred ETH?
I mean, you would think the latter, but like, it depends how quick it happens. I think like that. I think velocity matters. Like, I think
how quick it crashes.
Because yeah, if ETH goes down at a slow velocity to like, let's be realistic. If ETH goes down to $750, like, I don't think it's going to get too much lower. Like, I think there comes a point when people say enough is enough in an asset like that, especially when you have the ETFs around it and a lot of people financially invested. But if ETH goes down sub 1,000 slowly, then it's like, yeah, you could raise the price slowly on floors as they go up. And then maybe those floor prices come down if ETH recovers. I think violent directions one way or the other we'll have to see, because like, it's not true. Because people say like, oh, well, price of ETH goes up, price of NFTs go down, and vice versa. That hasn't been the case, actually. That hasn't happened for like 3 years. I got in a big argument with actually Crocs in the War Room at one point where he was like actually being kind of condescending to me about it. I'm like, here's the data. And like, the data showed like the only time you see massive movements is if there is a violent movement in floor or violent movement in ETH.
I apologize. I got a drywall guy here. I need to hit it. I'll be back as quick as possible. My apologies. He got here early.
You got a what?
Drywall guy here.
Oh, go hit your drywall guy.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, no.
Anyone wants to jump up on stage with Steve? It's wide open.
Yeah, anyone wants to come up and chat ETH and how horrible things could get? That's there as well. Feel free to jump up. I actually did want to go back though. So I don't know. Like, I guess it just depends what happens with the price of ETH. I would say I want to actually address something Machiavelli said. Machiavelli said when we were talking about the Minted movie, it's not like they didn't have the opportunity to reach out to the authors of the Everything token and really elevate what's happening. To give the filmmakers credit, if they stopped filming in 2023 per the abstract chat, which was what we were told in there. I can't remember who told us in there, so I don't want to misquote. I want to say it was Mesh, maybe not. Maybe it was Be Epic or Rare Ed. One of those, I think. But if they stopped filming, it was Rare Ed. So if they stopped filming in 2023, then they didn't have the chance to reach out to the authors of the Everything token because the Everything token came out in 2024. So to be fair to them, January 2024, but they could have reached out to the first co-authors of the Harvard Business Review article about NFTs, which was us. And so I don't know. There is certainly would have been opportunity to do something. So I don't know. I would have liked to see it a little bit more. But yes, not ideal. You were at said June 10th, 2023 it first aired. So there you go. So there's your answer to that question. So they didn't have the opportunity to do so. A couple other things that I want to cover while Cap gets his drywall guy So we hit on that. Taproot Wizards floor, speaking of which, I thought this was an interesting one. Taproot Wizards floor, now back to almost mint. At one point when it was at like 0.14, I did the math, and it was like $1.4 million or $1.3 million or something insane to get it actually back to mint price. If people haven't seen the Taproot Wizards mint price in the past few days, you might be surprised because, they minted at 0.2. They dropped pretty quickly after a few days down to like 0.15. And this is Bitcoin, by the way. So you're talking about those denominated prices. It's now at about 0.19. So they're now, about, I think last I checked, they were roughly, so that's, I'll do the math on it, 6, 12, 18. They were at one point 17 from the mint price floor. Now they're 23 from the mint price floor. So 23 sales, which is certainly less than $1 million+ in spend. So, Taproot Wizards certainly making a move as well. So I'll be curious to see what happens. Ordinals collections across the board were actually pretty green. If people have been watching them, they've pulled back a little bit in the past 24 hours, but Node Monks were up. They pulled out a little bit in the past 24 hours, but on a 7-day basis, Taproot Wizards up 31%, OMB up 28%, Puppets up 22%, Node Monks up 10%, Quantum Cats up 23%, OCM Genesis up 10% or 11%, actually almost 12%, Runestone's up 22%. So super green ordinals over the last week, which has been really interesting to see, which, we were saying a couple weeks ago, who's the incremental buyer? OCM Katoshi sells out in 22 minutes. That was interesting. Taproot Wizards obviously sold out near instantly after the allow list was fully claimed. They're up 31% in the past 7 days. So a little bit of rejuvenation coming to the ordinal streets, which is interesting because we kept saying, who's the incremental buyer? Who's spending their Bitcoin and JPEGs? And, sure enough, you've seen that as well. JPEGs also on Abstract up a little bit. On-Chain Heroes up about 18%. Ryu, which is up about 40% in the past week. Gigaroms from Gigaverse, which I have a couple of as well, have been up 22%. And so we've seen a few of these. Abstracts First, which minted last week, they cooked quite a bit. Kabu. So again, more Captain and Company ships surprisingly down 40, about almost 50% in the past week, which I don't know if that's because there was a badge associated and now that badge is gone, but seeing that sort of rise and fall as well. So just interesting to see those alternative chains when you look at the past 7 days of NFTs. And then we mentioned the ETH NFTs in the past 7 days. CryptoPunks flat, Pudgy's up about 10%, Bored Apes up about 6%, Mutant Apes up almost 10%, Lil Pudgy's up 25% to 1.32, Doodles up 10%, so they're at about a 2.8 ETH floor. So we are seeing a pretty solid cook across the board from lots of collections. The other thing I wanted to hit on this morning while we're out here talking about all the different things is I did have this tweet over the weekend that got a lot of attention. I kind of didn't expect it to get a lot of attention. And it has to do with how we do things in Web3, sort of this Web3 versus Web2 mentality, which I think is a, sort of an interesting, we always have these Web3 versus Web2 conversations, which is a, I think, good to see the comparative nature of them. So I want to actually, I'll read like Rudo's tweet and then I'll kind of give mine following this. So I see this take on the timeline a lot, and I saw it from a few people, which again, it's cool. I get it. Rudo said, hot take, creators make way more money in Web3 or way more money than they're worth in Web3. It's the fault of Web3 companies that lean too heavily on them for distribution. To be honest, very few creators actually convert as much as they cost. More creators would actually lower the average cost for KOL marketing. So saw this from Rudo, and I thought it was interesting. But I'll be honest, I thought it kind of lacked some nuance. So I actually responded to his hot take with, hot take, most Web3 companies do creator marketing all wrong. Instead of one-off pieces of unrelated content, they should look at long-term partnerships, including hosting, videos about products, IRL event participation, and more. We asked more of LeBron James, Baker Mayfield, and Chase Stokes at Fortune 500s I worked at than companies ask for in Web3 creator deals. Creators shouldn't be one-off expenses. They should be strategic assets. Most Web3 companies approach marketing in a completely siloed fashion with no crossover between paid, earned, and owned media. 5-figure trade show booth, social media, creator marketing, PR, and advertising gets all done without any strategic synergistic integration. By maximizing deals with creators who understand their products in this super niche industry, Web3 companies won't be overpaying. They'll be building brand equity. And I got a lot of thoughts on this, and it seemed most people generally agreed with me, which tells me, what do you think? And I know you're back, Cap. When we put together a proposal for a brand, we generally try to include multiple things. And a lot of times they trim those things out and say, hey, not interested, or they're not as interested in the IRL thing, or they're not as interesting. What I guess drives me nuts as a marketer coming from this industry is we'll do what we're paid to do. But I struggle with the way that we approach creator marketing, where someone says, go to a creator, have them do either an unrelated piece of content, which if you do a content that's just a funny video, that is a top funnel video, meaning you want awareness where it's really easy to get there. It's an advertisement, right? That's fine. But I feel like do we see more and more of that, or more and more of a one video about a product, one tweet about something, one show? I don't understand why more companies aren't doing full integrations with their brand ambassadors. When we launched with LeBron James, he launched things on his Instagram. He tweeted about it. We had Matthew Dellavedova come IRL to play horse against our employees. Chase Stokes was a logical person for, Sweet Earth. We have him doing satellite media tours. Every place I was at, the advertising department, the PR department, the social department sits down at a table, and I know these are leaner teams, but you have a conversation. How do we maximize this thing? And then you strike the deal. I just when I see people saying KOLs are overpaid, I was I feel like the companies are part of the problem because they don't do legitimate creator deals the same way Web2 companies do. Am I just yelling at a cloud here?
No, you're spot on. And I think part of it is that they do bad brand ambassador deals because they don't treat them like brand ambassadors. Well, first of all, I think part of the reason why is I think most teams in this space, they don't have a professional marketer on their team. They're just a founder, and nothing wrong with that. All founders are responsible for marketing to some degree, but because of the dynamics of the space and how teams are able to garner attention and mind share so rapidly because of financially motivated individuals and how this space is drawn to the whatever's new. What I think, and so then there becomes this collective, I'm not speaking for all, but most teams then, they have this ego that they know better than the creators. Some might, most don't. And so many of the teams, they just chase views and impressions, which is wild to me because anyone that's been here, anyone that's been on X, even if they're not in crypto, they know how many bots have infiltrated this app. Most views and impressions that a creator gets, they're not real, especially the ones that are pumping, look how many views this video got for you. Look how many impressions this got. Okay, did you convert anyone? It's just it's mind-blowing to me that views and impressions is the main lead item, the main metric that most of these brands are chasing on these deals. Because half of them are I don't know, maybe not half. A lot of them are not real views or impressions, or you're paying someone to get bot views on their video. Most teams don't look at creators as brand ambassadors and partners, rather as viewfinders. They look at these partners, these KOLs, influencers, they're going to get a bunch of views on this advertisement, which to your point, it's important, but that's one part of a marketing strategy. And so many of them, they don't, and then okay, then it doesn't work. They don't get, and then they move on to another creator or another deal. That's the same freaking thing. Let's see how many views we can get this week. I mean, if you'd asked me who has the most complete marketing strategy in crypto and Web3, I'd have to think I don't have to think a long. It'd be Gary, just because he actually is a marketer not just a founder that's trying to figure out marketing. And if you saw it with that reference community, like that community is incredibly loyal. They're incredibly vibrant, largely because they don't feel like they're being marketed to. Well, guess what? You are. Gary's just really good at it. And his team is really good at it. That's what they do for a living. But can you name another team that actually has a professional marketer on their leadership team?
I don't know. I can tell you who does a pretty good job with it. Like, for example, like I think like the Igloo team does a relatively good job with it, like comparatively. I actually think, I know some flowers to, we have our Mintify badges as advisors. I think Magic Eden does a decent job, actually, to be honest. Magic Eden created a cult around a marketplace. I think Mintify does pretty well. But I think I think Gary is the best example because he's utilizing multiple channels. Drew in the chat, good to see Drew out there. Drew saying, I learned that 99% made up number of these companies are also not doing market research or user research, which explains why so many have bad UX. They aren't talking to their users. That's also a fact. We had this conversation over the weekend about,
or his second point, I think is equally important, or they are talking to them, but in no official capacity. They're just listening to X and Discord, and that's their formal research. Guess what? A lot of those people aren't professional marketers as well. And sometimes you might listen to the community and you might take really bad advice.
Yeah. When we were doing the Starbucks stuff, we had power users that we did. We actually had conversations with them, with Starbucks folks, to get like feedback on the future of the program. And like, we had a feedback forum that was like, it's crazy to me that these brands don't do these like basic blocking and tackling things. Like, Starbucks, there's a feedback form. And actually, if people complain in your Discord, send them to the feedback form, because then you don't have to you can actually take it offline, which wasn't necessarily the intent, but it turned out being this unintentional thing where it's like, hey, people didn't like the way the program was running, put it in the feedback form. So feedback form is great for that. And then each month, we'd synthesize the feedback for digestible document and take all of the key themes and all of the key things that are sort of core dynamics, and we would know what to do with the program, right? And I thought that was a really smart move. And it was Starbucks, sort of idea to integrate the feedback form, I believe. I don't know if it might, I don't think it was Forum 3, it might have been, but like, I think it was Starbucks. And the feedback form not only got people offline, but gave them a constant place to voice their concerns and be heard. And then that stuff ended up being used. And then the results were synthesized to change the dynamics and brought into the program in various ways. It's just, we talked about this with Bored Ape Yacht Club. I had said in like 2021, they should have a membership director. And it feels like it's always been part of someone's job. But it was never a job. And it's like, find me a country club where there isn't a membership director or a caddy master who's in charge of that sort of thing. Like, it doesn't exist. And so I just think with a lot of these, you don't see that. But from a marketing perspective, to get back to where we were on that one, it's like we did a deal with Marshawn Lynch around the Super Bowl when he wasn't talking. We got his first interview, and we brought we worked with Kenny Mayne on it, where Kenny Mayne interviewed Marshawn Lynch. We used it for a commercial. Actually, that Russell Wilson interception, that famous one on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl? If Marshawn Lynch had run that in his post-game interview, he was going to say, I'm all about that flow, boss, in his final interview that he was doing. So we missed an opportunity there from a progressive standpoint. But I think that there is like this, like, but when we did that Marshawn thing, we did the advertisement, we used him in PR, we got him to sign some cleats that we auctioned off for charity. Like, you do all of these things. And when you're doing a brand deal, it's like, why not work in all of these opportunities? It's like, they don't look at people, they don't look at KOLs as a strategic asset. They don't follow the Web2 playbook that's existed for years. I just don't understand why they don't think about all the things they're doing and being like, we would like to sign a deal with you over the next 6 months to a year, and we would like to integrate you into 27 things that we're doing, instead of, hey, go film a video, or go film a video on one of our products, or we want you to host us on a space, or jump on a space with the other people. Like, it's mind-boggling to me, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know, like, it wasn't exactly the tie-in I was going to go, but it is perfect since you started talking creators. Bryson DeChambeau, a professional golfer, is a better creator than 99% of NFT brands in the space, Steve. I don't know if you follow, but he put out more creative content this weekend while he was playing in the Masters. He has a team, but he understands brand deals. He understands creators. He understands if he's doing a deal with a brand, it's not just to send out one video and see how many views and impressions you can get on it, or a series of videos. Like, it's just, like, I get it. I understand why they might chase views and impressions, and rare ed, no, actually it wasn't rare ed. Someone was talking about, like, these are just, the reason is they're vanity metrics, and these founders, they're chasing vanity metrics. I get it. I understand. You would just think after a while that some of these teams would realize that maybe we shouldn't put all of our eggs in vanity metrics, and actually should work to build some real relationships with some creators and real brand ambassadors. And I'm not saying I know I'm speaking too close to absolutes here. I'm sure there are some good ones. You mentioned a few. It just seems as if the majority of quote unquote ambassador deals, brand deals, it's just an engagement for them. It's like, I'm not in those meetings. I guess we are, but I'm not in the ones that we're referring to here. But it appears like, from an outsider's view, it's like that the goal, that the expectation is, let's get as many views as possible. That's the goal. Like, it just doesn't seem like there's much else coming from a strategy standpoint. I was looking for the actual post. I can't find it, but the one I pinned up just talked about Bryson's team, and then if you do, that same individual, if you go a little further, it talks about the Masters on TikTok is a good study in the diversity of content. Some of the most engaged, viewed content, someone showing cookie skillet dessert from their dinner, Rory's daughter nailing a putt, the legends mic'd up for an honorary start, 5-minute condensed full round of Bryson. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, most Web3 brands would probably do themselves a favor just to go study Bryson for a week and see what, like, he's a professional content creator, but his bio first calls out that he's a professional golfer, but rather his bio calls out first that he's a content creator. And he does an incredible jobs for the brands he partners with, because they partner with him. They don't just say, hey, go get us 1 million views.
Well, it's funny. I said in the reply, actually, I replied to my own tweet saying, like, just building on this tweet, basically building on it, I would say a lot of Web3 companies only care about impressions, an easily gained metric above a litany of other qualitative and quantitative metrics. And that's it. Like, so Bryson has a team around it. To your point, Bryson DeChambeau was very disliked. Okay. He was known as being a very disliked golfer. He needed to change that. So his team said, how do we change that? And they made an effort to humanize him in a way that showed that, like, look, this guy that you have stories about is so much deeper and so much more multidimensional, as most people are. Drew Crit saying Bryson DeChambeau, Bryson DeChambeau would be another one I saw from Skip Bayless this weekend. But Bryson, Bryson is one that, like, is a great example of, like, okay, so, like, this just even gets down to the core of, like, how brands do marketing in general. Like, one of the things that actually shocks me, again, these are, like, things that may be coming from my world I'm used to, is none of these brands decide, like, their voice and personality. It's like, you can define your brand voice. Who are you? Like, we would say things, I use DiGiorno as the example. DiGiorno being the playful challenger. There's, then you maybe pick celebrities to pair yourself with. So DiGiorno might be Jimmy Fallon and Ryan Reynolds. And then now all of a sudden you have a voice. You have we are this voice online. This is who we're going to be. And this is how we're going to go about it. And so I think, like, those things are, like, basic blocking and tackling you don't see. And everybody says, no, we're going to be everything to everybody. That's what we are. What is your product and who is the audience? And then sit down at a table and think, PR, social, advertising, what are ways you can utilize it? If you're going to get a brand deal with someone, if you're going to pay someone 5 figures, 6 figures for a brand deal, like, what can you do to maximize it? Like, do you, like, example, like, if you have a brand deal with someone who is doing content for you on the timeline, get 5 product videos from them, get them to host and do if they're a space host, get them to do a segment on their show regularly. Bring them with you to a trade show and have them be in the booth for a period of time. Have them wearing your branded gear on stream and in the booth and around the trade show as they're doing it. and filming content for you while they're there. Have them host your panels at a trade show so that you have a person who understands the product doing it. If you want to do a charity auction, have them work with you on that. And there's like and that's just like scratching the surface of the variety of activities. You're doing an advertising campaign, use them in it. Have them actually act in it. Different like ways to get really creative with your top people that are involved in your community. And I just think, there are, get them a badge for the team. Like there's so many ways you can work with creators over the course of a 12-month period of time. Again, when we had creators, we did satellite media tours, advertisements, magazine placements, again, celebrity auctions based on what they were doing. We would find ways to do a stunt surrounding them to like, hey, win a chance to get a cameo from this thing. I mean, give away a VIP package at the next event where somebody can win the opportunity to go hang out with your creator that you've chosen at a VIP area. So they could be like, hey, you're good. NFT NYC will send you to a box in the Yankees game with these people. Like whatever it is, like there's a million ways you can use these people and they can help amplify your content. They feel more invested in the brand. And by the way, like the amount of people you work with, the companies and celebrities you work with that then feel a brand affinity towards you afterwards because you make them feel good about it. Like you can do this with creators in Web3. So I think there are so many missed opportunities. It's like the Web2 playbook exists for a reason. So I don't know. I ranted about that a little bit. I think it's a miss in so many ways of like, again, it's dependent on an individualized company because you have to know what their product is and what the thing is they're trying to sell. It's just, I just don't understand why these deals aren't done on a more thoughtful basis with elements that go across paid, earned, and owned in many ways. Like why, if you have a really big creator, don't you do an AMA with them from your brand handle on, it's like things like that are very, very simple. We did a special AMA event with Chase Stokes and Maddie Klein. He was dating her at the time. They're both from Outer Banks. Like so like people showed up to that and they were excited about it. There's so many opportunities to do that you could come up with for your creators. And I would encourage people not to say, hey, creator, like send us your best deal and what can you do and how. And again, it's fine that people don't have time to do this thing, but like, what is the best way to utilize them to make them work? Cap, that said, kind of moving on from that, like I wanted to wait for you to be back for this one. We got Kaz in the chat talking about it. So Bitcoin is back above $7. If people missed it, we talked about it last week. Bitcoin, you went on, you paid basically $7 to get a potato miner, and it became this free money printer for a period of time. It crashed. I saw a lot of takes over the weekend where people are saying, look at who's shilling this Ponzi and people calling them out. Am I crazy? I feel like people weren't shilling it. There were people who were saying like, oh, I'm making money on this thing. But I feel like everybody kind of universally acknowledged like the music's going to stop. I don't know. Maybe I missed some of that.
Yeah. I think it was kind of an unfair shot at Finn was the one because the guy's job is to talk about things that are capturing attention on Abstract. He did just that. And he put a lot of his own money in. I'm presumably is down quite a bit because he said he upgraded it right around the Pico top. I understand, like, could have he said, added some sort of disclaimer or maybe, I just think it's being a little harsh on him in particular when, he shared what he was doing. Like he didn't say, oh, go, buy this now, or don't be sidelined. Like, I don't know. We've seen a lot worse. And it's just I feel would we have seen any of that if it wasn't Finn who was on the Abstract team? Would anyone have got that complaint? Because I felt like, to your point, everyone who was like shilling it was also saying like, hey, this is the music is going to stop at some point or something to that regard.
Yeah. That's like, I don't know if it was like Finn specific though, because I did see like the Finn one, and
I saw like those are the ones I saw was people were quote tweeting Finn taking shots at him.
Yeah, I saw Finn specifically, which I didn't think was fair. And Kaz says, I think a lot of the bubble was caused by people piling on and FOMOing on the coin who weren't even really playing. It overcorrected. Now it's back on track. I think like the Finn one I saw a bunch of people with like, no, it was totally nebulous. They were just like, oh, your favorite KOL who told you to buy Bitcoin at 17. I didn't see people saying that. Like, I didn't see people saying buy Bitcoin at 15, 17. I saw everybody saying to a person, and maybe it's just my timeline I've curated, hey, music's going to stop. Enjoy it while you can. Take the risks that you're willing to. And like for me, I got into the black early on and I stayed that way, right? Like I wasn't going to go into the red early on. I made like $100 or something like that on it. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep printing this thing for now until we get out of there. And so I never got myself out of the positive on that. Other people went big and it paid off. If you went big on Bitcoin early on, it paid off. And like, Cause it's definitely Ponzi by design. And that's okay. If the music only stops if the token is distributed through the Ponzi is useless. If we just mine this token, then that's it. It goes to zero. But as it seems but so far it seems pretty obvious that the team is capable of building some more fun stuff that keeps it going. And the other thing is like they put in some aesthetics and some vanity stuff. They put in new miners. They've given upgrades to rooms and things. They're trying to create a game, but like I'm playing it.
In all seriousness, this is far more like. And someone said that this isn't a Ponzi in the true sense of the word, in the actual definition of a Ponzi.
True.
That's fair. Like maybe we're being too harsh, and I would agree. Like the big game, for me, far more enjoyable for a passive game like this than something like Roach Racing or another. Like we're talking simple, passive, or basic games on chain. Like I don't know. Like there is something there to their point. Like it's not a pure Ponzi in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's not like, again, like I know we use the term Ponzi too colloquial in this space in general. Like I made that comment before where we don't do a really good job. So I should be careful about how I do that. But yeah, man, I
pushing back. It's definitely Ponzi if there's no use for the token, which so far there is a use for the token, right? Like how long does this go on? How much more do they have? I don't know. But right now there's things in the game that you can't do without the token.
Yeah, and that's like, and I think that there's, to me, like it's again like Ponzi, no Ponzi. It's I guess less important to me than to say like, even if this thing prints, the money printer isn't going to last forever. It was just weird to me seeing people being like, all those people who shilled Bitcoin to you at 15, and then they try to pull up like Finn, who's like talking about the product and his own money he's spending. To your point, was the only one I really saw cited. Like, I didn't see people say like, follow me into the fire on this one. This is going to be the next big thing. I saw like, again, most people saying, hey, like this is a good little thing to start. Be cautious and only get invested as much as you can because you never know if it's going to come back. So I guess that's what throws me off is I saw a lot of that this weekend. And I was wondering if I missed anything besides the Finn tweets where Finn was just simply tweeting about playing the games that he does. He tweets about everything with abstract products. Like that's his job.
Well, I guess then the other side of it is there was other competitors that he didn't tweet about and they didn't get featured. Like I understand both sides of it. It's just a tough spot. I think we've turned a blind eye to far worse in this space, and I don't know. It's with everything. You need to do your own research, whether it's being promoted by an employee of a chain or not. But I feel like I'm kind of talking out both sides of my mouth here, Steve. But it's like, know what you're getting yourself into, and someone said, isn't crypto at large the entire thing a Ponzi? I mean, it's not, but many things in this space can be, and or structured similarly, I guess I should say. And I didn't catch any. I don't know, like what I would define as a shill or a pump, and just most of what I saw, unless I missed something, seemed pretty harmless, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, it felt like people were just like having fun and it was actually making most people money, and other people who were going in too crazy were taking a higher risk based on the price of the token, based on the amount it was producing. Like I said, I threw in a couple raspberry miners that were kind of cheap, called it a day, cashed out my coin, converted to USDC to book my profit, and I've not looked back. Does that mean I'm going to have mega upside? No, but doesn't mean I'm going to have mega downside. Also, no. And I think that's our, those are the risks you take. So
I will say this. I think I've said many times, I think the best performers or the ones that get me most excited are, in the meme category, are the meme coins that actually have some actual utility. There's some game tied to it and they masquerade as a meme. And I don't know, I could see Big playing that, after all 21 million of these get minted and there's still other stuff going on. Like if they continue on after the fact, then now all of a sudden you've got Big, which is essentially a meme coin that has some functional elements to it. I just, that kind of stuff, like, I guess if you break it down, like, am I going to get more excited about something like Big, where there's something there, compared to the runner of the day that is someone memeing some viral moment on the internet? This interests me more than the straight meme play.
It's more fun. If I want to, I can use that Bitcoin to buy another miner or different aesthetics. And if they add more in-game elements, I might do that. So like, it's just more fun.
I'd like to see more those that are launch a meme with something like this. Like, part of me is I'm like rooting for this sort of stuff to take off and start capturing back some of the pump fund mind share in market share.
Yeah,
I wish we'd start, because I think if we start seeing more things like Big capture attention and have at least minimal success, I think we start seeing a lot more creators and builders go this route, as opposed to just dropping a pump fund token and watching it run up and then go zero.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's like, cool little graphics. Like, there's a lot of things that people like about it, and people are having fun showing their rooms, buying different aesthetics. So I agree with that. And like, again, is like last thing I'll say on the Fin thing, it's like, I guess you don't see people saying like, damn, Tim Cook tweeting about Apple again, didn't disclose. You didn't disclose when you talked about that new iPhone, or like, Tim Cook, you tweeted about the Apple Vision Pro and didn't disclose, like, and then it went to zero. It's like, well, yeah, man, like, people spent $3,000 and it was a crappy piece of overpriced equipment for most people. And, it'll get better in form factor and all that good stuff. But like, sure, man, like, but like, Finn's got his bio and his badge, and his job is to promote abstract products. Like, people don't go on Jesse and Base about this.
Good call. A good call out from Cause in the abstract chat says, I think Finn is literally doing his job and people are being unfair. They are allowed to shill something that was in the works and with their knowledge for months, and to not shill a clone that someone vibe coded over the weekend. So that's fair. If they've been talking to this team, they know they were working for months, they know that they've got big plans. It's fine for them to promote something and talk about something and get involved in something, and then choose not to do a copycat that someone vibe coded in a matter of hours just to capture the attention. Like, I take no issue with that. And I think I appreciate it, I guess. I haven't really thought all this through about, I actually didn't know about the other vibe coded clone that was downvoted or wasn't promoted.
Phonics shared a code over the weekend, and by the time I clicked on the code, the website had shut down and people thought maybe they rugged. And then maybe they didn't. They brought it back up, I guess, but I didn't get involved at that point because that was sketchy.
Oh, I don't. Again, if someone wants to copy something and put out a clone has had some success, cool, do your thing. There's no harm in that. Take no issues. We just, like, we can't have it both ways, right? Like, it's like, let them, like, people can create, like, this space is known for vampire attacks and forks, and like, that's fine. That's all fair, in love and war. But at the same time, we shouldn't fault a team for supporting one that they know was the original and has bigger plans, and choosing not to support one that is likely just to capitalize on the attention.
Yeah, it was 100% to capitalize on the attention. And you're exactly right there. It's like, like, which one are they going to promote? Like you said, like, they're supportive of the dApps that are building in their ecosystem. They have been in general. And I don't like know, I guess, like, I don't know what people want from them as a team. I think they've done a pretty good job supporting ecosystem builders. And when someone's like, no, must support this ecosystem builder who is copy pasting this thing that was worked on for a long period of time. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So, anyway, yeah, I think, look, I'm just keeping my minders open for business, and I'm just like every morning as part of my routine, I pull my big out. Simple as that. And I'll continue to do so moving forward. And see if hopefully it nets out a little bit more money and it continues to print, or if the music stops. If music stops, I'll take my little win. If it keeps printing, even better. Like I guess like I again, I always say this, I do the what lets me sleep well at night philosophy. And right now, like having a giant big mining rig would not be something that helps me sleep well at night. If I had thousands of dollars tied up in it, people had to pay, people are paying 5 figures to set up their setups. Great. Good for them. Go forth. Not my journey. My journey is this little guy who prints a little bit here, and I don't have to worry about a massive loss. Right now, I'm not in the mood. My massive loss for the year is already well done with my Pengu bet that I still continue to sit on. So, got my Pengu cash out, bought a little more going into that TGE, and it is down so horrendously. I don't have the heart for another big loss like that. So my next big swing I'm going to take will be very strong in conviction, and I'm not going to let myself get hammered otherwise. That said, Cap, it is the 10 o'clock hour. We're hitting time. Any cleanup or things we missed today before we let everyone go?
I mentioned in passing, maybe we can talk about it a little bit tomorrow, but just how authentication, I think, is going to become increasingly important if half of what we're seeing come out of TikTok from China is accurate. Basically, the TLDR claims are 80% of luxury goods are actually made in China and then just shipped to Europe for packaging. It's you can't believe 90% of the stuff you hear on TikTok clips, but it's hitting it hard and heavy in light of the tariffs. And a lot of these Chinese manufacturers are they've rolled up their sleeves and they've declared war on on Louis Vuitton and all the luxury items that allegedly are manufactured elsewhere. So I think like what I wanted to get to with that was not tariffs talks, but rather, again, having a chip in there, putting it on chain, put it on, making it provable that this is the actual item and where it was manufactured. I think that's going to get more increasingly important, not less, as society moves forward.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's I think it's a fair point. I think like people are going to care, like in a world where people care like where things came from and how they were. I mean, I think like, we're seeing that become more and more important to folks. And so I think certainly could be a verification. I think a topic for another day, but one that we can dig in on, particularly as this kicks up. And yeah, like it's funny. We asked the question, like, are tariffs going to be like something we don't talk about? I mentioned like lightly talk about. I just think this is just not going away. And I'm already exhausted with tariffs. Like, I feel like it's like I'm exhausted with tariffs is like being exhausted with like a half marathon after mile 3. I'm dying over here with this talk. So which not from you specifically this morning, but in general, I'm like, fuck, man, like we're constantly having these talks. So
I will say last thing on the big topic though, it is truly impressive to see it go from after that sell-off to dip down to like $2.50, $2.69, and bounce back up to +7. That's in all seriousness, that's pretty bullish to see it over. Not only did it overcome the FUD and the dump, usually those things are done. When you see the sell-off like that, it's done, and there isn't a second wind. And as always, could go back to zero in a moment's notice. So please don't put any money in you can't afford to lose. But it's a pretty strong bounce.
Very strong bounce. I agree. Like I was surprised to see that because I kind of expected.
I thought it was over. I was not expecting the bounce. I like, oh, there it went, and moved on. And I'm actually genuinely shocked to see it back over 7 this morning.
Same. Like that was exactly my reaction. I was like, well, that was fun. GG. Enjoyed that. Now on to the next. So yeah. I mean, I hope it just continues because while I'm not going to get rich off it, it would be nice to have something that prints, whatever that number is. I mean, if it's like I'm getting, I think, let me look at my big. So let's say a big stays at $10, right? Let's just as a number for argument's sake to keep numbers nice and clean. My grid is currently printing 3 Bitcoins a day. So if I'm printing 3 Bitcoins a day, $30 a day times, I know it's not going to stay that way, but I mean, that's not nothing, but $30 a day, times 365, like be nice to get an extra $10,000. Now, again, don't think that's going to be the case, but if it's half that, that would be an amazing thing just to add on a yearly basis, right? So I just think those
tweeted out. I said over the weekend, as soon as we start seeing people tweet, how much they're making farming something instead of a 9-to-5 job, as soon as they start making the 9-to-5 comparison, it's over. And it remained undefeated this weekend. We started seeing a few of those. Oh, I'm making $7,000 this month per month. I'll be, $96,000 a year by farming. Who works 9-to-5s anymore? As soon as you start seeing it probably is actually as undefeated as taking a screenshot of profits. Like if you're taking screenshots, you need to be taking profits. If you're talking about replacing your 9-to-5 with a Ponzi mine, you don't quit your job. It's over.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the end. As soon as you start seeing those tweets, there is a sell-off coming.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's, yes, I agree. Yes. Co-sign on that one. Like when you see people talking about leaving their 9-to-5s for this sort of stuff, that's usually when shit starts to hit the fan. And yeah, there's going to be less and less rewards as more people keep playing. It's going to be less and less cost probably. So there's going to be diminishing returns almost certainly. But yeah, I mean, if you make $1,000 here or there, a couple $1,000, if you've already been, playing around with it, great. And if not, again, I'm not jumping in at these levels personally, like to start playing outside of my potato miner. Maybe I get a raspberry miner if you're not already in, but certainly something to, something to consider if you're enjoying it. Just make sure you're enjoying it responsibly. That said, Cap, let's let everyone sail off another day. Appreciate everyone coming through this morning. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Have a great one. Appreciate everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Hit that carousel up top if you haven't done so yet. I'll pin it all the way to the left here as Steve closes us out, and we'll see y'all tomorrow morning.
Yeah, hit the carousel up top. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.